Give me an instance of like the worst fight you've ever had.
When we were writing ZNMD, I believe the neighbors call Honey Auntie. And it was like, is something going on in your house? Because it's really scary.
When you do a movie like The Archies, and I'm asking you now as a producer, how much do you pay these kids?
I can't tell you that.
How's the relationship with your parents, for instance? Did they?
I was naughty. I did make life a little bit of hell for them, I think. But they were also very supportive.
Did you think of casting Farhan ever for Gully Boy? Because he's also into music.
It was written for, it was another vibe, you know, and I think it was just Ranveer.
Hello and welcome to Sit with Hitlist, our completely unscripted podcast and print series. With me are writers, directors, producers, essentially partners in crime. Reema Kagti, Zoya Akhtar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
Thanks
We
for
obviously
inviting
don't
us.
believe in long introduction. My name is Mayank Shekhar, in case you didn't know. And I must place this conversation first in terms of when it's taking place, because you could be watching it at any point in time, many years later as well. This is November 16th, and there's a movie called The Archies coming up on December 7th. I have no memory of any movie in my life that I've seen 3 weeks in advance. In Bollywood, it's not even ready 3 days before release, right? So firstly, congratulations, The Archies.
Thank you.
You know, and it was an interesting experience that we're going to obviously look into, Zoya. But the first thing that I thought of when when we were watching the film was what was the biggest challenge? Was it setting something in 1964, it's your first period film, among 8,500 people in a town called Riverdale, making that believable? Was that the biggest thing in terms of you taking up this project in the first place?
No, I think I had very, very good people to make that happen. And I think the biggest challenge was figuring out how to keep the original Archies and put them in a context in India, where to set it, how to set it. I think that was the biggest challenge. Once we knew what we were doing, then it went smooth sailing, because we had the crew that came in, and then we knew what we were doing. We knew what to research, where to research, how to
Like in
adapt
terms
it.
of reference points, like where is this town? Where is Riverdale? I mean, we've seen portions of, like, say, Landor is a bit like
Yes.
Riverdale would be.
Makalski Ganj,
Right.
Landor, bits of Shimla. So a lot of the colonial architecture from there,
Right.
all the architecture in Ooty, so hill stations basically. And those have retained that architecture. So taking that and taking a bit of the Archie comic, taking a bit of Enid Blyton, the storybook world,
Right.
and putting it all together with.
Like, would you have thought of it as episodic when it came to you as an offer to direct? Like, because that's what Archies is, right? Every comic strip is a different episode each time.
Yeah.
Did you think of it episodically, or you thought it would be a film?
No, because when Netflix offered it to us, they wanted a feature.
Yeah,
Okay.
our
So we
brief was
just
always a
a
feature.
feature. So we just we never thought of it as a series. We just went.
Right. And what if you would like sort of had 17-year-olds from present day into the Archies? Would that have been a completely different challenge? Because you need to know Gen Z then. You need to understand like their lingo and their thought processes. Would that have been a completely different world? Is that something you considered?
No. We didn't want to do it contemporary, because Riverdale has been done.
Yeah.
And Riverdale, and it's done really well. And so we didn't want to do the same thing. The brief that we got from Archie was they wanted the original wholesome
Period
old
experience.
Yes, they wanted the
Right.
old school space. They wanted a wholesome film. They wanted
more
it
than period, they wanted it to be wholesome.
wholesome.
Right.
And for us, both of us were huge Archie's fans. So I think when we were connecting to that, we were connecting to a time in our lives where all this, this digital noise and all that around
So you
us
both
wasn't
obviously
there.
grew up with the Archie comics like the rest of India,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, what was that? Who's your favorite among the lot? Do you have separate favorites, or is it?
You can't have just one favorite. I mean, like,
Yeah, you
it
can.
changes.
I think Jughead is my favorite.
Yeah,
Mine
Jughead's
too.
his favorite.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it changes.
Right.
And sometimes, even within a story, you like one character more
Yeah.
than the other, even though the other may be your favorite.
Right.
So I mean, I just like the comic.
So, it's interesting when you go around casting for these multiple roles of especially actors we've never seen before, at least not on screen. You're not just casting for the voicing parts, right? They're also doing things that's quasi-musical. They're also doing things that involves other skills.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, Agastya, that's Archie, like he's sliding on the floor.
Yeah.
That is something you either can do or you can't do.
Yeah.
Is that something that you were conscious of when you're auditioning for the parts?
Yeah. You were
So
auditioning.
what was the audition like? Did you ask them to also?
No. You
Okay.
had to see. I mean, they went to dance. They went into like a dance space
Right.
and stuff. But the thing is, you also know if there's some aptitude or not, because it's not like you have to. They trained also. They learned how to do things.
But some just may not learn regardless, right? I mean, not all
Then
of
you'd
us is
have
a
to
dancer.
recast, I
Then
guess.
you have to recast.
You have to recast.
Yeah, then you have to recast. Yeah.
You know, the reason why I'm also asking this question is because you made a film with absolute newcomers in 2023. Your first film was about an absolute newcomer who enters show business, but that was in 2009. If you were to make a Luck by Chance in terms of how much the world has changed since then, what would that story be like in terms of entering showbiz? Because there are these 7 main parts who are entering showbiz now, technically speaking, with this film.
Right.
Whereas that one was about that one guy, that's Farhan's
Right.
character, who enters show business. How much has the world changed since then?
It's hugely different. Hugely different. That was a time when corporates were entering the industry. It reflects that age. And now, I mean, things like the media has changed completely. You know, social media,
yeah,
everything. There
was
was
never there
nothing
at the
there.
time.
No, there were no multiplexes really. I mean, it had just started.
Little bit, yeah.
It's a very, very different time. So, I mean, if I had to revisit it and rewrite it, I don't know what it would be. But thematically, it would again be about success and failure. I think because that's what the film's about.
Right.
You know, how do you define success and failure, and is your self-worth determining that? You know, so that's what the film is. The rest is just backdrop.
Yeah, and I think the
You know?
backdrop would change, but
The backdrop would
essentially the
change.
The
story
point will
would have
remain
been
the
Yeah, the
same.
point will
yeah.
remain the same.
You know, I think what I loved and which became obviously iconic over time with Luck by Chance is the part where Shah Rukh Khan enters and he tells Farhan's character,
Yeah.
you know, whatever happens in your life, don't forget those who knew you when
Yeah.
you're a nobody, right? That's obviously a line you wrote for Shah Rukh to say in the film. I'm pretty sure you had nobody else in mind when you were writing it.
Yeah, because you kind of also see it with him. I think he's quite rooted. His you know, his old friends are still his friends. The people that gave him a break, the people that stood by him, he stands by.
Right.
I think he was quite that guy. So it just came with him.
So when, say, for instance, Shah Rukh's daughter debuts in the film, and you already have access to Shah Rukh, obviously, and you have all these young people debuting in the movie, would you get Shah Rukh Khan to give them a pep talk? Because that's something that you should do, because, you know, here's the guy who's like done it over 30 years. There are all these
No.
new people doing their first
No,
film.
I wouldn't. I
No?
mean, no, because I've worked with I worked with Siddhant Chaturvedi. I've worked with various newcomers.
Right.
You don't call in someone and say, give them a pep talk. You just don't do that.
No, because it's like his daughter's there. And
You
so,
know?
you know, did he ever visit the set though?
No,
Never.
no,
Right.
no,
Did he see the rushes?
no,
Okay.
no.
And you obviously never called him to give that Chuck the India pep talk, guys.
No,
Okay.
but that's my job. I can't give my job to someone else. That's what I'm meant to do.
You know, it's interesting you said whatever you did about Luck by Chance, because that's one thing that's so amazing about you, Zoya, about all your films. You're able to put one word or one line to what the point of that film is.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So you said Luck by Chance is about
Self-esteem.
self-esteem. Dil Dhadakne Do would be about projecting.
Yes.
Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara was about
Carpe diem.
Carpe Diem, seize the day. What is the Archies about?
Idealism.
Idealism. Explain.
Idealism, like
Simpler times.
simpler times.
Less is more
Less
times.
is more times. What do we value? What is ideal? What is good for our soul? What are the things that should be valued? And the things that, okay, yeah, we can have them, but not at the cost of this. I think idealism. And it's also that age when you're a teenager where you think you can change the world.
Yeah.
It's set in the 60s, which was that era where people really believed that peace, love, you know, things of value. Even the art, even the setting, even the way Suzanne has seen the film, even the fact that the gardens are the way they are, it's ideal. You know, it's all idealism. Fresh air, sunshine.
So before you started writing, is that a word you gave yourself? This is what it's going to be.
No.
Or is something you arrive at during the writing process?
I think you arrive at when you speak. I think you
Yeah.
arrive at something when you're talking. You arrive at what this is meant to be. We knew what we knew is that we wanted the innocence. What we knew is that we wanted the simplicity. We knew what we wanted to value in the film. And then when you start building it, and then you realize that this is what the word is, then everything goes to that word. You know, it's like when you're a kid and you open a storybook. and you get into that world. It's an imagination. You get into that world, and somehow it's just everything's perfect and everything's ideal and everything works out.
Hmm.
And
And there's a moral of the story in the
yes,
end.
yes, and
Yeah.
it's like a little fable-like quality, and that is what we wanted to capture and put on. I mean, it's for kids, so it's for everyone, but
Right.
in a simpler sense.
Right. Because that's the other thing that you have, Zoya, and you've articulated in the past about how there are certain rules you make for yourself when you're
Mhm.
shooting a film. For instance, Dil Dhadakne Do had a rule where you would go mid-shot and
Yeah.
maybe long, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Because it's from the perspective of
Yeah,
true to the
yeah. I
dog.
mean, we went to close-ups only when the characters were this close.
Right.
So, I mean, you couldn't shoot it any other way. So, if it was a kiss scene or if it was Anil Kapoor grabbing Rahul Bose, those were the times when we had to go close because that's when otherwise, no, we just didn't.
And you decided not to shoot blue tarpaulin
Yeah,
in Gully Boy.
yeah.
Firstly, why?
I don't like that color.
It's unesthetic.
I don't like the color.
No, and I think it wasn't part of her palette.
It wasn't part of my palette. Suzanne doesn't like the color. I didn't like the color. It's we love blue, but it's
Yeah.
that particular blue.
The
And
blue that you see when you're like landing in Bombay.
yeah.
You know, this
There's
whole
something
Bombay that
very
you see in that
synthetic
blue.
about it, and it wasn't.
Do you have any rule for the Archies?
If you see the film or whatever, there's a lot of wide lensing in it, which is takes you back to the 50s and 60s style of cinematography. We lensed it in a particular way. We didn't use a certain kind of shot taking. We didn't do that handheld. We didn't do any of
Right.
that kind of shot taking. We kept it very classic, very old school, very full frame characters.
Like
Which-
portrait framing?
Yes,
Right.
portrait framing. Also framing from, if you see the lensing of the older films, this is how it was. You know, you hold shots, they're longer shots. The moves are very simple, very classic. So we kept those kind of rules with it. Yeah, and everything had to have like a bit of a storybook quality. Everything, from the food to the costumes to the art to the everything had to have a not pushed to the point where it's like, oh, what, you're another planet, but just dreamy.
Which is very different from Gully Boy, right? Gully
Yes.
Boy is as freaking rugged as it gets because you're inside Dharavi,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah.
Tell me something. You make it the Archies after Gully Boy, right? Or let's say even in terms of the series world, you had Made in Heaven drop, the second season drop after Dahad. You know, are you playing with class in the sense that one, you'll go and then you alternate with another class? Is that something that you are consciously doing in terms of, okay, I've done enough, let me go into another world?
No, I think we follow the world that our characters live in.
Yeah.
If a story excites you, then you go for
I was
it.
looking at polar opposites though. Archies to Gully Boy, Dahar to Made in Heaven. In terms of the world,
But all of this is part of our universe,
yeah,
our real life. Like Gully Boy is, hip hop and rap is as much a part of my life as Archies is. So, I mean, it's all part, it's not like I'm going seeking anything.
right.
It just comes to you. And I think
Yeah, I
even,
mean,
yeah,
it's about being authentic to the world that you are trying to create. You know, and your different characters inhabit different ideas and stories, and you follow
So
them.
it's not a conscious thing of let me explore another world altogether because I've done this.
No.
It's just like a
no, but I do definitely, I think both of us, I can speak for both of us, we are avid movie watchers. We are avid readers. We don't have one particular genre of choice. We watch a lot of things, we read a lot of things, and we are fans of various kinds of filmmakers. And I don't think there's any particular genre I don't want to do. So, I mean, I'm actively looking for a crime story that excites me, or a different, and that'll be a completely different world,
right.
you know. But I love those movies. I want to make a movie like that,
Like crime as in big crime.
as in
I
gangster.
mean, there's a bit of crime in
As in-
Gully Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
As
no,
in
no,
gangster,
that-
gangster.
that's- yeah.
You mean, oh, okay. Oh, got
I'm
it.
talking about crime, like or a police drama, or some. I mean, I'm looking for something which I haven't done, and yeah. So I'm actively seeking it out, and I don't know what that world will be, but that the temper of that kind of storytelling excites me. Those films excite me. I watch them all the time, so I want to dabble
Right.
and see what I do. And I think it's exciting to be a little scared. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. If I had to do the same film again and again, I'd be bored. I won't go to work. I have to get a little scared.
Speaking of which, okay, here's something that occurred to me when I was watching Made in Heaven. It should have occurred to me the first time, the first season itself, but it occurred to me the second season. There are two main characters, all right? Arjun Mathur and Shobita. They are extremely close, friends, BFFs as it were, almost like soulmates, but professionally very close too, because there's that another world that they inhabit, which is to get stuff done, which is essentially production in a huge way,
Yeah.
because that's how weddings are held, not very different from films. Did you set these two people on yourselves?
No.
No,
Why
I don't
not?
think we didn't set the people on ourselves,
Yeah.
but definitely the friendship. I think when we were discussing it, with when Alankrita, Zoya, and me were at some point talking about it,
Hmm.
it did come up. Where like you're saying, they were also kind of soulmates.
Hmm.
Not that Zoya and I are soulmates, but yeah.
What? But we are
Disclaimer, not that
yeah.
we're soulmates.
no, but we are friends, and we've had a very long friendship and a very long working
You're
relationship.
always together, isn't
Yeah.
it? As far as work is concerned.
Work-wise,
Yeah.
yes, but not socially.
Okay.
No, not socially.
Yeah,
But
we have totally
work-wise,
different
yes.
social circles.
No,
No,
we
we
have.
don't have totally different social circles. I'm quite antisocial,
Okay.
and Zoya is very social.
Yeah.
But when I do go out, then we go out to the same place. I
You do.
guess.
Yeah, we are the same gangs,
Yeah.
but we're not necessarily as social as we are work-wise.
Speaking of antisocial, I have to say I've tried to look for as much information I could on you. Firstly, all your interviews appear with Zoya, and which is roughly what's happening here as well. It's incredible how little we know about you, Reema. In terms of your background, in Zoya's case, of course, well known because her family is from the movies. So Javed Akhtar, Hani Rani, blah 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 blah. And what about you, Reema? Like, where are you from? I know that you grew up in Assam, moved to Bombay at some point. I want the entire focus to shift to you right now, and just tell us about yourself.
Well, like you said, I was born in Assam.
Mm.
I went to school firstly in Meghalaya, then Delhi, and then I moved to Bombay. Studied, I was in Sapphires. I did college there, and then
Mm.
I did the social communications media course at the Polytechnic. And at some point, bumped into Zoya while we were working,
Mm.
and then we kind of started writing small things together, and just I don't know. There was a kind of we liked the same kind of films. There was some kind of common ground, and yeah.
So how was it? Like, so you basically left home at a very early age to go
Uh,
out and study? How did,
Yeah, I did go to boarding school, so I was pretty young when I went out. Yeah,
which was where?
went
Shillong.
to Shillong. Yeah,
Okay.
Loreto Convent.
Okay.
But that was quite, back in the day in Assam, there weren't that many good schools,
Hmm.
so a lot of kids went out to boarding school.
Hmm.
It was quite normal.
Right.
Like in the big cities, it was the kids who were naughty who were sent to boarding school. But back then in Assam, a lot of kids
Were
went
you a naughty
out.
kid though?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the relationship with your parents, for instance? Did they?
There was I was naughty.
Hmm.
I did make life a little bit of hell for them, I think. But they were also very supportive.
They would have to be, right? I mean, given the years that you were growing up, now it seems like a legit field. It wasn't so much to, especially work in the movies. There weren't that many options to begin with. Now you, of course, have television, OTT space,
Yeah,
social
yeah,
media,
it
etc.,
wasn't. It
etc.
wasn't. My father was very disappointed.
Okay.
He felt I could do so much more.
Hmm.
But then he came around.
At what point did he come around?
The first time that I was an AD on Lagan.
Okay.
So I took him to watch Lagan.
Hmm.
And he was like, if you're going to make films like this, then not bad. Because I think he was also, reacting to 80s and 90s Hindi movies.
Hmm.
Which
What did that do for a living?
he was an engineer who
Okay.
worked in an oil company, and then he left that and he leased out about 350 acres and built a farm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where is the farm?
The farm is now not with us anymore, but it was in Upper Assam,
Right.
about a 4-hour drive from China.
Ooh, crazy. And so you don't, I mean, is that connection gone with you?
No.
and
I
Assam?
have family in Assam.
Yeah.
I have a lot of family, and you can't lose connection to where you're from.
Mm.
My cook is from Assam. I eat Assamese food every day.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So in that sense, you come into Bombay and there is this new world that almost is starting off, right? There is a change that's also happening. There is an indie scene sort of coming up around that time, which is very different from the art house scene that used to exist in the 80s. So this is going more and more towards mainstream. Is that what happened? And then you met Zoya on the sets of Bombay Boys? Would that be correct?
On the sets of Bombay Boys,
That's how you first met.
Yeah.
I mean, she has a memory of you both in the casting process. You both
I was already working as an AD, and Zoya came in, I don't know, I think to get an AD job, but Kezar decided to audition her.
me. I wanted to be I was an assistant director, and he was like, no, you have to do an audition, you have to do. I was like, I can't act. No, you have to audition. So he gave me some lines, and I sat in a chair, and Reema read the lines.
No,
with
and
me.
it
That's
was
how
a
we met.
scene that he was testing her for Tara Deshpande's
Right.
part. So I read for Rahul Bose's character, and she was reading for Tara's character. And immediately after it ended, she told me I'm like the worst actor on earth. And I was like, Zo, I don't think you're getting the job either.
Yeah.
But then she got
The job I wanted.
the job she wanted. Yeah.
And that wasn't your first job, though.
No, I'd worked on Kama Sutra. Kama Sutra was the first one I worked on with Meera.
Right.
And
This is after you came back from New York?
no, I finished that. I went to New York.
Ah.
I finished Kama Sutra, went to New York, came back, and then I worked on Split Wide Open and Bombay Boys. Bombay Boys first and then Split Wide Open, something like that.
No, Split Wide Open first.
Split Wide Open first and then Bombay Boys.
And what about you?
I had worked with Rajat Kapoor on his first film, which was called Private Detective.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And it was pretty much, with Rajat, he was like my film school. I got to work with every department, and really it kind of gave me a very strong base in filmmaking.
And then thereafter was
And
Bombay
then
Boys?
I worked on Bombay Boys.
And then you became what is called a professional AD.
Yeah.
Would that be correct to say?
Yeah. And we were quite like, there was no, at that time, what used to happen was the AD was always affiliated with the director or with like an advertising production house. And I mean, we were both graduates. I had just come back from, studying, doing a diploma at NYU. I had worked with 2 or 3 directors that were like different films because the international films come in and they go. So you're always in a freelance mode. And we just decided like we can't work with one person because everybody you saw that just worked with one person became like that person.
Right.
Like there was a creative chop that happened. So we at that time, I don't know how we had the guts to take this call that we didn't take a job.
Also because
we just said we'll work with whoever hires us, and otherwise we'll just keep writing and doing things. And we just started getting work.
And it's also always an amalgamation of things. That was the time where I think people in India started shooting sync sound. They started shooting one schedule films. So they needed professional ADs. Earlier, if there would be 12 assistants on set and they're all doing everything. But here, there were very structured jobs. There was a first, there was a second. It was very, very, you're kind of a liaise between production and the technical crew and the director. So all of it happened at the same time. And I think that kind of gave rise to a new breed of freelance ADs.
And
also, that's what we were.
We trained on a lot of international films. So you just had
like
to work. Kama Sutra was one of them.
Yeah.
Then I worked on a film in New York called Side Streets. Then when we came back, even Bombay Boys was produced by Deepak Nair. So it had...
It was like a massive producer back then in the US.
So, so it was structured very differently, So then the system of production and assistance was very different. And once we started working like that, we knew that we don't want to work on films that are not going to shoot sync sound. Because that's where it's heading. And we didn't want to work on movies that went on for 5 years and you're just hanging in the office. So we were like, let's just do films that are like
tight schedule,
sync sound, and we were doing commercials in the middle, and we were getting hired as freelancers. It was perfect. So we worked with so many different people, and that was such a good experience because you learn what to do, you learn what not to do. You can compare different directors. It was much better than just being in one space.
And so you guys were essentially production people then, which is very different from what you ended up doing. I'm presuming filmmaking was always the ambition, right? That's the case with most ADs.
Always.
Writing and directing. But actually film right?
Yeah.
That was always the case.
Yeah, writing and directing was always the ultimate goal. And I think that's why we bonded, because that was our common goal.
And you both had a script with you when you both met?
No,
we didn't. We started, we tried to write a short film and almost killed each other in the process because we were fighting, because I was like, I'm going to do this. And she was like, no, I'm going to do that. Then later it became, then I wrote Luck by Chance and she started writing Honeymoon, and we gave it to each other for feedback, and then she kind of finished Luck by Chance. I think wherever I was stuck, and I did that with Honeymoon. So now we can just be like, I'm stuck with this, and she can just write scenes for me, and I can
Yeah.
just write
So,
scenes for her.
though we actually
And
haven't credited
that's
each
when
other.
we haven't credited each other, but we're both on each other's film. After that, we just wrote together.
So basically, you had a script each that you just passed around and
No, we
figured.
developed it. We spoke about it and
Right.
pretty much started writing it when we knew each other. And
Yeah.
I think because this worked out so well, you know, where we were able to almost kind of plug the holes that the other one couldn't, we wrote Talaash together. That was our first script together.
Yeah.
That was
Like from scratch, you mean?
Yeah.
yeah,
from
from
scratch.
scratch.
Right. That's quite organic in its own way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like soulmates only, you know?
Yeah.
Just
I
saying.
suppose.
Yeah, she says no.
I
so I'm
mean,
just
writing soulmates.
Yeah.
Writing soulmates.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, writing soulmates.
We may not be
for
life
sure.
soulmates,
Yeah.
but we're definitely professional
At least
soulmates.
soulmates. We're professional soulmates for sure.
So, I mean, I'm also asking you this because the other huge writing pair that we know in Bollywood for sure is Salim Javed, right? And you guys have actually done a documentary on
Yeah.
them, which I'm
it's
dying to
Still
watch.
happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
still
still a
happening, right?
work in progress.
It's a work in progress. But you know, I think Javed Akhtar has spent enough time lately, especially I've noticed, talking about that partnership, which he hadn't done before. And one of the things that he says, and what becomes clear now, is the fact that Salim Khan was the scenarist. He was a screenplay guy, whereas Javed Akhtar was a man of words and the dialogue guy, which is an incredible amalgamation in its own way. If you were to define your partnership in terms of who has, you know, what skill which is better than the other, what would it be?
Firstly, this comparison is freaking me out only
Okay.
because they had like some 22 blockbusters. We are nowhere there. So, firstly, let's not put us in the same sentence for starters because they are another league. I don't
Yeah.
think anything like that has happened before or it's going to
Right.
happen again. What happened with them? But I think our strengths are very different. We talk. We align on what this story is about.
What the themes
what the
are,
themes
right?
are that we want to touch, who the characters are, and what the film is about. Then I think she's very, very strong with the screenplay. She's very, very strong with structure, and she's very succinct. She gets to the point. I tend to,
Linger.
soak. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's
and
like
I
when
am-
we're editing, you send Zoya a 100-page script. She'll send you back 120 pages. And I'm like, what have you edited? You've added.
No, but I think I would say I'm more, of course, both of us are on the story.
Huh.
But when we come to the screenplay, I think she's better with like the what.
Like tightening it, you mean? Like in
uh,
terms of
Like
scene
what
marks?
like
Zoya's
structuring
very
it.
good at
Is character, I think.
layering
Nuancing,
characters, nuances.
Layering
you know?
nuances, the dialogue, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
She says that, my dialogue, everybody sounds like me. It's like everybody sounds like you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious. It should, right? Because
Yeah.
unless
No,
you
because
really get into
it's
the
like
head of the
firstly,
character.
I write the dialogue completely, but I write it in English. Then it goes to one family member. So either it
The
goes to
brother
my
or the father.
brother or my father
Right.
or Vijay Maurya.
Correct. In the case of Gully Boy.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the case of Gully Boy. So then they will take it and they know exactly what I want, and then they will put it into the syntax that works best in that language. But if you had to shoot anything in English, the screenplay is ready.
Like in terms of it could be a published book.
Yes.
In the way you've
Yeah.
written it, in
Yeah.
the way you'll go
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
shoot it.
But you have to talk to yourself. You have to become another character and all. Reema's not doing any of this. She's
Yeah.
her.
But it's
Yeah.
also because I think at this point when we're kind of lazy with the thing, like Zoya will refuse to, she can, but she will refuse to write the first draft of the screenplay.
The first draft means like,
from
okay,
the story. Like we have a story,
we
right?
discuss a story.
Huh.
We do the one line together, right? So which means Mayank entered the building. Mayank sat down. Whatever.
On
like,
top,
Scene
right.
1, scene 2,
Exterior,
scene 3.
Mayank
Yeah.
enters.
But then you have to, that has to be
say
fleshed out.
But then that
Yeah.
has to be fleshed out in what happens in this scene, right? So I find it very lazy to do that. So she does.
Yeah. So I don't,
So she
because
will
she
write
knows I'm going to do it.
the bare
So-
bones of that, and then I will take it and then I will juice it and
So
then do the
similarly,
dialogue.
I know that she's going to have a go on the dialogue. So why do I spend time doing it?
Yeah.
I'll just make them sound like me and she'll fix it.
Yeah. So it's just
And both of you write in English entirely.
Yeah.
So in that sense, would the Archies be that one screenplay that you guys have, which can be exactly the way it is on screen? Because even if it's not them speaking in English, I can read subtitles. That's what you would have written, right?
Yeah.
The subtitles will be the same as what you wrote
Yeah,
in
but
the.
there's a lot of Hindi.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even
Yeah.
if they're
Yeah,
speaking
but what
Hindi,
happens is
the subtitles will
eventually,
be what you wrote.
Yes.
yeah,
Right?
and also, I mean, they will, you know, the person who does subtitles might approach it a little differently.
Right.
But yes, the English draft is a template for it.
Yeah. But you know, also what happens is it's Aisha Divitri wrote Archies with us. So she's
Mm.
also she's
Right.
a writer on the film. But it went to Farhan.
Mm.
Then Farhan wrote the dialogue.
Mm.
So a lot morphed and changed. And the you know that like we write in English, but something you have to change the syntax into Hindi. Then
How is
sometimes
he the dialogue king? And I mean, what is that special skill? Because this is the second time that he's written the dialogues.
for
right?
me,
Yeah,
he's written third time.
third time.
Yeah.
Zindagi Na Milegi
Zindagi,
Dobara.
Dil Dhadakne Do.
Dil Dhadakne Do as
Dil
well.
Dhadakne Do, except my dad wrote all the dog lines. It's like, thank you. I'm the voice of the dog. So he wrote the doggy lines, but Farhan wrote the
Yeah.
script, and then this is the third one.
So how is he dialogue king in the sense of how does he get the language? You guys have grown up together.
has
How is
a-
the Hindi better than yours, for instance?
I don't know. I don't know how his. I think he just spoke a lot more Hindi.
Hmm.
I think he just. I don't know.
Okay.
No,
You
I
know?
think they've spoken Hindi is kind of at par, but he's
No,
just
he's
a
a
lot
little
more,
better.
He's a lot more confident.
He's
at
he's better.
Hmm.
You know, and his language is simple.
Hmm.
And Archie is his zone.
Hmm.
You know, he gets the humor, he gets the corniness of it,
Hmm.
he gets the simplicity of it. It's also set in the Anglo-Indian community, so we don't want Hindi words that wouldn't flow
Right.
easily with that community. So
Hmm.
even though they only mainly speak English,
Hmm.
but if they had to speak Hindi,
Hoinga.
yeah, but it would be a
Jayenge,
simplistic
little bit, yeah.
vibe to it. So he was the best person for this.
I'm going to get to Farhan in a bit. I want to stick with both of you in terms of the writing part of it. You may choose not to associate yourself with Salim Javed, but it's too late now. You've done quite a few films and quite a few well-loved films. Work together, but also not work together in the sense, I'm presuming, you know, we kind of have a sense of what you do and what you do. Are there times when either of you was like completely like complemented each other in a way that you were like really happy with a particular scene, like you were stuck, and that's the scene that we got to see on the screen? Is there
Yeah.
anything that you can remember, Zoya, that
Many.
like, okay, that's Reema's amazing line or amazing
Many,
scene?
many.
Which one would it be?
Many. I think Safina, the character.
Okay.
Because Safina actually is a character that Reema wrote in a script that she wrote herself, and it was in another movie. And I read that movie. I fell in love with her. And then when we started writing Gully Boy, and that film didn't happen, and I was like, "Can I just take Safina?" So she was like, "Yeah,
her
why
out of
not?"
there.
So we took Safina and we planted her into Gully Boy, and then obviously adapted Safina to
Right.
Gully
To that
Boy.
world, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
Did Safina live in the same area in your
Safina
original
was,
Safina? Was
for
she
Dharavi only.
from
Yeah, yeah,
Dharavi?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, it
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
Dharavi
Yeah.
character.
So
Yeah.
that
I mean, I think that's why Zoya suggested it, because I mean, obviously we had to tweak
we
the
had to
character
tweak
a
the
bit, but she
character.
really into the story, the world, everything.
Yeah. So
And
we
was she
just
in
took
love
her.
with a guy like him?
Yeah, pretty much.
And
Not like him. Some like, but she was in
But
love.
in
She was
love
in
in the
love
same
with
way. In
Yeah,
love in
yeah,
the same
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's what defines the
Yeah.
character
Yeah.
at
So
some
we
level.
just picked her up and put her. Then another scene I think that was that's very Reema was Leela chasing Arjun on the bike and kissing him, because she's the character that says live in the moment and you know, follow your dream and live right for now. You know, think about it later.
Right. No
And
regrets.
at one point it was like, but she needs to do something. She can't just say it. And she should, instead of kissing him outside, let them leave and let her go there. So that was really,
Right.
yeah, that was really good from what I remember. That came from you.
I mean, for me also, there have been several things like that. I mean, Bhagwati, the biggest one, okay? Because
Yeah.
Bhagwati sort of came from this trip that this friend of ours, Shai Haredia and me, we were, back in the day, you know, I was a broke AD and we had gone to Goa, finished all our money, and Shai's sister's friends were giving us a ride back. You know, like we didn't even have bus ticket money left. So they were giving us a ride back, and they had some kind of a packet which had I don't know what it was, maybe a pot or a vase or something. And the lady, I mean the girl, she kept checking on every time it went into like a pothole, the car, she'd be like, "Is my packet okay?" So we sort of made the packet a person.
Right.
You know?
Priscilla.
Yeah, it
She
was
was
called
called
Priscilla.
Priscilla. Yeah.
So when we were writing ZNMD, I was really wanting to put this packet in. And Zoya turned the packet into some what is it? What is it called? I still don't.
Birkin.
Birkin.
Birkin, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean Birkin? What is a Birkin? And then she was like, it's the most, and I was like, what? It costs these many lakhs? Like, who's buying it? And I really wasn't that convinced about Bhagwati being a bag.
Huh.
But,
But
you
I
know,
knew
What did you
back-
want it to be?
I wanted
like
it to
just
be,
a package.
I wanted
was
it to be
like,
a packet that was breakable, you know, which
Okay.
is why it came from
and I
stuff.
was like,
Right.
no,
But
it's
then
got to be
once I
Bhagwati.
kind of accepted it, you know, and because she was the director, I had to go with her, you know, because the director, whoever's the director gets the
That's
last
how it
word.
works.
Yeah. Because otherwise we'll never stop arguing,
So
you know.
if you're both writing, say your next film, which I'm presuming is the Malegaon film set in Malegaon,
It's shot.
That's
it's done, right?
It's
So
done.
when you were writing it, it's kind of clear, even if it's Zoya's
Yeah,
input.
but that I have
But
to,
that's
Varun Grover wrote it.
wrote that.
Varun Grover wrote
Yeah.
it. Got
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, I mean,
But
when
what about
we-
say Talaash, for instance?
yeah,
It's kind of clear.
Yeah, whoever, I mean, you know, beyond a point, whoever's the director, it's their call. So I literally gave in like that. But when we started developing it and the way Bhagwati developed in the script, I was like, okay, so
It makes sense.
yeah. Or even in Archie, I mean, there's one song that I wasn't convinced about. I felt like maybe this situation doesn't need it. But when I was watching the film, I mean, it's one of the best tracks. And the visualization is like Zoya has outdone herself, you know. So I have to hand it to her. She sometimes sees
I mean, there's
things.
enough mutual admiration here
Yeah.
for all the fighting that you guys apparently do.
Yeah.
But there must have been situations where it's like, dude, we are not agreeing on this, and this is gonna linger. This fight is not gonna lead to any conclusion at some point. Like it's not about agree to disagree, but really
Yeah,
like
but
we're not
you
doing
just take
this.
some time out.
Yeah, and
then.
Yeah?
also
Yeah,
you know, you
Yeah.
also mature and become wiser. Like earlier, back in our early
Give me an
days,
instance of like the worst fight you ever had.
well, when we were writing ZNMD, I believe the neighbors call Honey Auntie. And it was like, is something going on in your house? Because it's really scary. People are shouting. And
Everyone's used to us, like in our office, and Ritesh Farhan.
Yeah.
They're just like, I'm not doing any film
Yeah.
with the both of you. Are
After
writing your lines
ZNMD, in
separately.
fact, Ritesh was like,
Yeah.
please
They are very
stop
used to us.
working together.
Yeah.
I can't handle it anymore.
They're very used to us.
So what was the fight about on
I-
that day
We
when a
don't
call?
remember.
Can't
No?
remember.
No,
It's really not that consequential. Is that what you're saying?
Not. And it's always about, you know,
That
the
particular
work.
scene.
Yeah. So
He's
now
not going to do this.
we've
This character's
also
not going to do this. Or
yeah, but now the system has changed a bit. You know that you don't have to argue about it. The better argument will automatically stay with you over a couple of days, and that'll win. It's
You
not
take a break,
something.
yeah. So
basically.
now we don't.
And
get
let's
into
just
it.
move on from this and go to other things.
how do things change when you guys both become producers together? That's another skill set, right? Of course, you work on a set, but this involves like logistics and this like personally looking into logistics or involves money. How good are you guys with that aspect of
She's better than me.
yeah?
Yeah, but again, it's an extension of what you do. You know, if
Hmm.
you do it together, and
I think we have different skill sets even with that.
Okay.
I think I would be better off in terms of going out there, meeting the people, meeting the actors, getting the things up. Because she doesn't want to go anywhere. She doesn't want to
Huh.
call anyone. She doesn't want to speak to anybody. So that really doesn't help. So if yeah, so I'm better off doing that.
Right.
And she's better. She's better with budgets. She's better with cutting
Numbers?
than I am.
Ah.
So we have different skill sets with that, and we both are into mentoring. We both are into mentoring scripts. We are both into creatively packaging and producing films. So those things remain. Creative
Right.
producing we both like doing, but the actual hands-on producing,
She's better at it.
yeah, I
yeah,
think
like
so.
say
think
social
so.
media. Zoya takes care of.
Like I handle all the Tiger Baby social media,
Yeah.
all that. Like she's not
I can
she-
barely handle mine. You know.
like
Like for instance, how much would you like when you do a movie like The Archies, and I'm asking you now as a producer, and all of them are newcomers, there's obviously no box office in terms of what will rake in on day one or something. How much do you pay these kids? I mean, do you pay them equal, or how does it work?
I can't tell you that.
I'm just saying, like, you know,
Because
don't
they'll be
even
like-
don't even the money,
Huh.
but like, would
I
you pay
think
them
by and
equal?
large, it's not very unequal. It's pretty
No,
much all in the same way.
And they are also. I mean, they were all seven of them. All of them were treated equally.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. No, I saw that in
Yeah,
Sao
of
Paulo. I
course.
mean, yeah, there
All
was an
of them.
element of all of them being like a group
yeah,
in that
yeah.
sense. But you would do the negotiation about the money, would you?
No,
No,
I
we have
wouldn't
a
personally do it,
CEO.
but
Oh,
we
you have a
have.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have.
Oh, so that's cool. You've
Yeah.
got like a professional CEO to handle
yes.
these
We-
aspects
we
of it.
cannot
we
be
do,
doing
and
this.
every project we bring in a freelance
EP.
you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
like an executive producer who will.
I'm sure you've been asked this before. Why is it called Tiger Baby again?
I
We have a dog here, by
I
the
think.
way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I love
We-
dogs
yeah.
and I love big cats, and I think my spirit animal. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. And it was a joke. It was something that, not a joke, but it was just a term that Anurag and all used to call me.
What?
Tiger baby.
A tiger baby?
Yeah, just, I mean, like it was just a moniker.
Because you're ferocious or...
Ages ago, yeah. And
like-
it just stuck and then I just used it.
It's actually better than why Excel is called Excel. It's Manikji Cooper's Excel. You know, I think that's what Farhan said. He was on our series and he's talking about how it's the motto of the school.
The motto of our school was, there is no excellence without labor.
Without labor, I thought it's quite
Yeah.
lame to call Excel Entertainment.
School.
Yeah,
They're
also
from
I
same
think
school.
how
So were you,
Zoya,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
what Zoya said about, because I wanted to call, I mean, it's
What did you want to call it?
balls of a brass monkey.
I think you went with the,
I mean-
the
Yeah,
better one.
so Zoya's like, don't be ridiculous. And also because she was like, it's fierce and it's feminine. And we should have
No, but it's
something like that.
she's a tiger in a dress, and I kind of
Yeah.
like that.
And it has a nice ring to it. You
Right.
remember the name.
Yeah, we do. It's a nice logo as well.
Yeah.
It shows up really well in the
Yeah.
Archies thing. That's about producer, but the other thing that both of you don't do together while you do write is direct separately. How are you different as directors?
I don't think I can direct with anyone. I mean, I don't know how people co-direct. Must
Yeah.
be.
But how are you different as directors as
how are we different?
like with the
as
same material, you would have a gold or you would have a honeymoon, and if she were to direct it, would it be
Yeah.
very different from the way you saw it?
I think so. I mean, there are some, for me at least, what I like, Zoya tends to reference a lot.
Hmm.
You know, I do reference, but I also kind of start really building my visual world after the recce's.
Yeah.
But Zoya kind of is very visual from, you know, like from the time we start writing, she'll start pulling out
like
stuff. And
I like to find a tone
Hmm.
I'm going with. Like I like a visual tone, and then I start building the world from before,
Hmm.
and I start seeing it from before, and then I start wrecking accordingly.
Is that harder though? Because you imagine this now,
I
and
mean,
now you have to go and find it.
No, you're not so
Unless you're
stuck
shooting
with
on
it.
set, that's
Yeah,
different.
you're not so stuck with it,
Yeah.
but you know it, and it changes.
Yeah.
You can change your mind
Once
when
you
you see
reach-
something
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, you
nothing is
always
set.
adapt.
Nothing
Right,
is set in
right.
stone.
right.
But you know what you're going for. You know the world you're going for. That's very important for me, and it excites me.
Hmm.
And then when I start wrecking, I also then start adapting the script to the world. You
Hmm.
know, so I might change a scene from here to there. I might make day to night. I might do things that will then fit the world. But I like to
yeah, but that everyone
visually,
does. I mean,
yeah.
that's not a
Hmm.
difference. I
I
think
like
that any director
I like a
does.
visual tone.
Right.
It is a visual medium. I'm really into what something looks like.
So would you write that on the screenplay, or it's
No.
just in your head?
No. It's in my head. I don't write that on the screenplay.
Right.
I mean, it's two things. You
Hmm.
know, you have to understand you have an idea, but when you write a screenplay, you've finished, you've accomplished something.
Hmm.
You've almost had your first hurrah.
Hmm.
It's like it's like
Right.
there's
And you're
a
happy with
sense of
it.
Yeah.
completion. That's
Hmm.
all. One job done.
Hmm.
Then you have to start again from scratch to make the film from script to
How
screen.
you saw it.
Yeah, so then you have to, it's a very different journey. And that journey is, to me, a visual.
Hmm.
It's an all around journey. So I have to take that and lift it off the page.
I saw an interview of yours, Zoya, at the Directors Association masterclass, and there's someone in the audience who asked you about writer's block, and you said that the only way to break it is to show up to work at 10 a.m. and that's how you do.
Yeah.
Is that how it works for both of you? Do you guys show up to work at 10 a.m. regardless
You
of
have to.
You have
Yeah.
to.
You have
Yeah.
to. There's
every
no
day of the
option.
week?
I mean,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When we're writing, yes.
when we're writing, yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't, there are days where it's not happening
Hmm.
and we let it go. You know, we'll watch something, we'll talk nonsense, we'll gossip,
Hmm.
we'll reference, we let the day go, you know, but we'll
Or
stay.
sometimes just put it on the other one. This is your job. You do it.
You
You
figure
have
it
to
out.
click it.
You know, but you have to show up because no muse is coming. You
Hmm.
have to just
Yeah.
go there and every day, and then it just flows.
So at any
Also,
point in
what
time,
I've realized, I think now at this point in our, after having written quite a bit, it's sometimes things never, the first time that it comes out on paper, it might not ever come out in its perfect form. Layering is the secret, where you keep going at it over and over again and layering scenes and making it what you want to be.
And also, don't be scared to rewrite. If it's trash, trash it. And don't be scared to rewrite. Oh, I've written this now. Now who's going to start again? You have to start again. Sometimes you just have to start again and change it from the top and go. You just have
Yeah,
to.
but I think if you follow a system of kind of writing your story first and then
Getting
going
into
on
the
to the
screenplay
screenplay,
process.
your chances of getting stuck in a block are less. Because honestly, you've already
You've
worked
already
it out by
cracked
the
that.
time you get to the
So
screenplay.
you have a story in place,
Yeah.
and that's something
And
you
you have
arrived
a
at.
you have a
Every
beat
scene,
sheet.
like a
You have a
cue
one
sheet.
line
Yeah.
of the screenplay in place,
Hmm.
not just a story.
Right.
I mean, I cannot start writing, and no, I don't think she can either. A screenplay where I don't know where it's ending. I can't. I'm not those people that my characters will take me there. Not at all.
Hmm.
I have to know
Yeah.
where they're starting,
No, and you
where they're
have
ending, and then I
end-
have to know the end.
Right.
you
That's
end up
interesting.
writing a lot of scenes that actually are not helping you, but because you've written them, now you're attached to them and you can't let go of it.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's somehow organically when we started working together, that sort of just clicked. We kind of realized we can't jump onto the screenplay.
So, I mean, I noticed that you guys get asked this question very often. How did that idea come to you? How did that idea come to you? How does an idea come to anyone anyway? Like, I mean,
You
what is the
develop an
starting point?
idea.
Different things,
Different things.
Sometimes it could just be something that's going on in your mind. Sometimes it could be, like in the case of Supamana Malegaon, it's a documentary you saw.
Yes.
Or in the case of Gully Boy, it started with
A music video.
Music video Zoya saw.
Yeah.
You know,
You know?
and I like hip hop,
Hmm.
and I never heard anything like that out of India,
Hmm.
and it blew my mind. There
Did
was this-
Zindagi start with both of you taking a holiday together?
No, Zindagi started because I've done many road trips,
Okay.
and I love road trips, and I wanted to do a road movie, and that's how it started. And I had come off a big ensemble with Luck by Chance, and I was just like, I want to do a smaller film,
Hmm.
so I'll do a small ensemble.
That was a very
Yeah.
small film, I have to say,
Yeah.
starring Hrithik
Yeah,
Roshan.
that is Zoya's idea of a very small film.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone's
Yeah,
asking you if
no,
you're
but
making.
she was just like, after Luck by Chance, she's like, I just want 3 boys, no hair makeup, and I'm just going to follow them around in a car. But,
Yeah.
it
But it
started like that. It didn't end that way, though.
But you guys did a trip together, right? I mean,
We
Europe,
did.
yeah.
And a lot of it actually, we
With a
did
bunch?
there was 5 or 6 of
6
us.
girls.
And
Hmm.
we did like,
We did a
we
whole
took
trip to
trains
Europe,
and
yeah.
thing through Europe. And a
Ages,
lot of,
before Luck by Chance also.
Acha.
This is ages back.
Right.
Yeah.
But a road trip.
yeah, but a
Road,
little bit
train,
of,
a little bit of everything.
Huh.
Yeah.
there was a lot of that holiday actually put into ZNM.
There
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
The spirit of
The
it may
spirit.
not be specific.
Which can also become Gile's Era, which
Yeah.
is the other script that you guys have written
Yeah.
and yet to start shoot.
Yeah.
What's happening with that film, by the way?
That's waiting on dates.
Okay. And what's happening with Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara Part 2, since everyone seems to talk about it?
Waiting on soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you did say somewhere that Abhay Deol has a script for a sequel.
Abhay keeps telling me, he's threatening to meet me. He's like, I
Ah.
have an idea, I want to meet you. So I'm going to meet him. And let me
It
hear
may not
him
be so
out.
bad now because
Of course
he
not.
came with the original idea of Dale D,
Yeah,
which
of course
turned out to be a
not. He's
fantastic
very
film.
smart. Yeah.
So there you go. You
Yeah.
have like at least one
Yeah, yeah,
potential script
Yeah.
lying around somewhere, right? What about when you're working on stuff together where something that you worked on becomes part of, or at least the research becomes part of something else that you do later? Like, for instance, in the case of, say, Dahad, you are dealing with cops, but you were working on Talaash to
Yeah.
do with cops. Would you use portions of that?
Of course.
Of course.
And so was
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was,
of course.
was there a bit of,
Of
that
course.
going on?
Yeah.
in
Also,
this?
it's not, even if you don't do it consciously, whatever we did, all the research, and we spoke to a lot of cops and people like that, that becomes part of your,
What you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then consciously or unconsciously, you are using.
Like, would that be true for Dil Dharakne Do and Made in Heaven as well?
Yes.
Like the world that you're
Yes,
looking
yes.
at?
Delhi.
Yes,
Yes. Because I've spent a lot of time in Delhi. I have very close friends in Delhi.
Mm.
And every time one of them gets married, it's like a music festival.
Huh.
It's like if we are from Bombay, so nobody comes to your wedding for over 2 days here. No one has the time.
No one
yet.
has space also.
No one has the
Yeah.
space, no one has the time, no one's attending. But Delhi, it's like you take a holiday,
Hmm.
you go there, it's 7-8 days of celebration. Every venue is huge.
Hmm.
You're like, what's going on? And people love it. They
Hmm.
live for weddings.
Right.
So that's where it started. And you meet all kinds of people. I talk to all kinds of people,
Hmm.
and people are very like warm, you know.
No, and she was taking notes
I
on
was
her
taking
phone.
notes.
On your phone.
On
Yeah,
her
yeah,
phone, and she was like, "Why aren't you talking to people and taking notes?"
And
Because
that
we
lent
knew we were writing
that lent
DDD
itself
by
to
then.
DDD and then made it happen. Yes.
So you had stuff from the research of which went
Yeah.
Because you couldn't have made Made in Heaven in Bombay, in Mumbai. It doesn't. It's not the culture.
I
Delhi
mean,
is,
nowhere else do people
and
do
you don't have
marriages.
those
Maybe
locations.
Punjab, maybe Chandigarh, you still could.
You could,
You
but
could.
Yeah.
Delhi,
Delhi is Delhi.
Delhi is Delhi. Delhi has the locations.
Hmm.
Delhi has the people. Delhi wants to spend that money.
Yeah.
It matters, and they do it beautifully. You know.
Speaking of which, there's Riverdale
Mm-hmm.
in the Archies. There's another world that you grew up in, which is Bandra, which
Mhm.
I'm presuming is common to both of you as well, since we moved to Bombay.
Much later. I moved to Bandra when I was about 21 or 20.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very early. My first memory of you is actually at a
No,
bar
before that you
in
were in South
Bandra.
Bombay.
I mean, for a couple of years.
Sophia,
I was
yeah,
in
that would be South
Sophia's.
Bombay. And
Yeah.
then,
South Bombay.
because I remember you at Zenzi, we beat you guys in a trivia night.
Okay.
And I'm
I
very
think
proud of that.
Anand
Beat me?
Subaya and I. No.
No.
Anand
chance.
No,
Subaya.
you weren't there. No.
No chance.
I remember that. I remember
You remember
that.
that, right?
I do.
Beat me in trivia.
No. Anand Subaya and I were on the same. You know, the editor who's
Yes.
we work with a lot. He and I were on the same team. I remember this.
I think Ankur Tiwari was also in your team.
You play Trivial Pursuit.
Like, no, it was a trivia night.
Trivia
Ah.
night.
So it wasn't Trivial Pursuit, but
Okay.
basically one quizmaster asking questions
Ah.
and free
Prize
booze.
was, I think, free booze.
The table, yeah, you get
Okay.
whatever the rounds are on.
Okay.
Yeah, your
on
table
the, on
doesn't
the
have to
bar.
pay the
Yeah,
bill or
we
something.
beat you very badly, by the way, if I remember right.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I
No,
think
actually,
you're just
I
saying
think that
that
we did.
because you're on camera now. But I would like to challenge it.
There is no documentary evidence
Yeah.
of this. But you know, when you live in Bandra, especially in your case, Zoya, when you grew up in Bandstand, which is like a whole lane, beautiful lane of amazing homes, right? And behind that is East Indian community that lives in
Yeah.
Chapel Road. Did you think of that world when you were thinking of Riverdale at any level, or you thought, no, let's not get realistic at all. It's a storybook. It's a comic book.
It is a mix because I knew a lot of Anglo Indians when I was growing up as well. So there is a particular culture. There is a food culture, a music culture, a fashion culture, a dating culture. There is a whole beat that comes with it. Bandra has a lot of East Indian community, Christian community. So Christmas was very big.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, it still is. It's all lit up and it's lovely, you know. So that is part of my childhood. So that with the research, with the interviews of people we
Right.
did all together, yeah.
And that's also a world that you sort of brought into filmmaking. A lot of the people that you work with are those you grew up with. Would
Yeah.
that be correct to say? Like,
Yeah.
say Anand Subaya is someone
Yeah.
where we went to
we were in school
school with,
together.
who's the editor.
Yeah.
Are there more people that you can remember who are just part of your crew now?
Yeah, of course, Arjun Basin and
Okay,
me.
the fashion designer. Right.
A costume designer, Avan contractor. We've all been friends since we were in our teens or early 20s. There are a lot of people I work with. Homi Adajania and me were in college together. Not that we work together, we keep
Okay.
threatening to, but we haven't. I mean, when you grow up in a city and you grow up in a particular industry, you know people
Right.
and you grow up with them. So it's part of the thing. But I like working with the same crew.
You
I
do.
enjoy it.
Okay.
And
And why is that?
because there is an understanding,
Hmm.
there is a trust, there is a complete a sync of aesthetic, and it's less stressful, you know. And the people I work with are incredibly good, amazing at their jobs, like Suzanne or certain
Who's the production
gaffers.
designer?
Yeah,
Right.
I was a PA when I started working, and she was a designer.
Okay.
You know, so I
You were a PA in
I was a third AD on Kama Sutra. That's why I met her.
and
for
you were
the
looking
first
at
time.
production design in that
She
film.
was a set decorator
Right.
on that
Right.
film. So I've met these people very early in my life.
Right. Right.
And there is a certain
They get you.
yeah, and I get them, and it's trust. It's just not to say that I won't work with someone new.
Right.
I'd love to,
Yeah.
but I like that, and I work a lot.
Hmm.
So I enjoy going to work and knowing that my life is not passing me by. My friends are there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working with Farhan,
And
I'm working
filmmaking
with
is one of those
Ritesh,
things
I'm
you
working
can.
with her, I'm
Right.
working with. So it's like, you're not isolated and like working 13, 14 hours and then life is going and you don't know what's up because my whole gang's with me. So it's fun. I enjoy it.
Except cinematographer. For some reason, all your cinematographers seem to be Spanish. I mean,
No.
there's
Only Carlos.
Carlos,
And,
but here is Nikos.
Nikos is Greek.
Is he Greek? Okay.
He's Greek.
Okay.
And
International. You had international
Jay
cinematographers.
Oza, who's from Baroda.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Jay Oza, who's amazing.
Take
who
a
did-
joke, Zoya.
Yeah. Jay Oza did Gully Boy with me
Right.
and Made in Heaven, the first one.
Yeah.
Then I shot with Tanay Satam, who's from Mumbai. He did Ghost Stories with me. He's done Dahad.
Right.
He's done Kho Gaye
But when
Hum Kahan.
you bring in an international cinematographer, you think there is a certain way to look at this country, which is that lensing would be very different. Do you think that could be an advantage
Yeah,
sometimes?
lensing and also the way they approach, the kind of prep they do.
The
You know,
prep.
to me, that is the most exciting thing about working with a cinematographer who's outside of here.
The
Their
prep,
approach to
the
prep
time they
is
give you,
completely different.
Right.
they prep it very differently.
And that's all they're doing because they've come from
They
another
come,
country
yeah,
just
they
to
come
do
to do
this.
that, and it's a very different thing. And these guys are, I mean, it's now beyond, oh, I'm working with Nick. I've known Nick for 15 years now. He's a friend.
Right.
So I'm finally working
So
with
he's also
a
Bandra
friend.
now,
Yeah,
basically.
you know,
That's what's happened to him.
So he's also Bandra. Yeah.
And then there's obviously Farhan Akhtar, right?
Mhm.
For those who have not watched the series, I guess we'll have this out after the series drop, after the film drops, after the Archies. He's there in the movie,
Mhm.
right? And I don't think it's a huge spoiler to
Yeah.
say he's Uncle Ben,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That should be a trivia question at Zenzi on a trivia night.
Uncle
What does he play in the Archies? Did you? And then that's your one film that you've done without him. Then there was Gully Boy that you
Yeah.
did without Farhan in it. Firstly, did you think of casting Farhan ever for Gully Boy because he's also into music?
No.
It
No.
never occurred to you?
No, it didn't occur to me because it was written for, it was another vibe. You know, I didn't see Farhan in that. I
Okay.
mean, otherwise he'd be in it.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I saw him in it, he'd be in
yeah.
it. You know, and I think it was just Ranveer. It was just meant to be Ranveer.
When you were
And
writing
was,
it, that's who you
yeah,
thought
yeah,
of.
it was
Yeah.
written for him.
And he was a college kid, you know.
It was written for him. And Archie, like I wanted Farhan somewhere, and actually it came up from my DA. Arzu and the sound guy Pranav, and they were like, because we were getting voices in the film, and they were like, why don't you get Farhan for Uncle Ben? I'm like, but his voice is so distinctive, and they were like, yeah, but that's fun.
Right,
So we were, of course, doing the dub in Excel in the building.
right.
So we were like, can you come down?
What are you doing right now?
Yeah,
And do a spot dub
Yeah.
of Uncle Ben.
yeah, your Uncle Ben. Here, it's the mic.
And both of you worked on Dil Chahta as well,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? And that would be in a certain sense where Farhan is your boss
Yes.
because he's the director
Yeah.
of the film. Both of you became directors thereafter, having worked with each other. When you look at his work, when you remember him working, how was he different from the both of you as a director?
For me as a director, he's very different because he is he's very, very clear about his edit.
Okay.
Like extremely clear about his edit. You know, and sometimes I've worked with him and I'm like, don't you need this or don't
One
you
more?
need? And he's like,
He-
no. You
Not
know,
more,
so
but just more coverage.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
he's just very, very clear. He's got an innate film grammar. Like you can watch any film of his and it's just his grammar is classic. The way he shoots is just clean. There's something just not, there's no hitch to it. And I think he's just an editor, so it just comes to him. He's meticulous. He's very meticulous. But she has worked with both of us, so she'll be a better.
Yeah, in that sense, I think, like she's saying, Farhan knows his edit before. In terms of Zoya and even me, when I shoot, there you can take that footage.
Lots of
and
safety.
No, not safeties, but you can actually. There are many ways you can cut the
Scene.
scene.
You can cut the scene.
And it's
in many
really
ways.
like, and we almost are building our scenes in our edit. But Farhan, like I remember Dil Chahta Hai, he would, while we're shooting the scene, he used to sit in the corner and like make notes about along the scene which shot to put. Like he was that clear. He would use the mid here and then he would use the wide there, or whatever, you know. He was very clear about where he was going to use what. We do have some clarity, but I think we both tend to build our scenes on the edit.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, it's very interesting because, but we are all the film generation. We all trained on celluloid. We all learnt on celluloid.
Yeah.
We've shot films. My first digital film was Gully Boy. Until then, I was shooting films. So our discipline, we don't take takes. We don't go more than 3 takes or
Right.
4 takes. You know, because you prep because you never had the budget to do
Right.
so.
Right.
So your training is very different. You rehearse the camera. And when you shoot because you had to give like, okay, what's your ratio? How much film do you get every day to shoot with?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that is gone out of the window. People are just doing taking and taking. We don't do that. So we still shoot pretty. We're quite.
You know, I asked Farhan this question, and he said the difference between the both of you is that you're extremely articulate. You know exactly what you want. You say it, you express it. Whereas he, on a set, the person would wonder if he liked the shot at all or not, and he'd just be like, you know, would that be correct? But that's his assessment.
Yeah.
Maybe. He's not maybe very forthcoming.
Yeah, and he's quite, I mean, he has a bit of a, Farhan as a person and Farhan as a director, there's a slight personality difference.
Okay.
You know, as a director, I think he's, like you're saying, not that communicative. and quite closed in that. You don't know what's going on with it.
It's all in his head.
Yeah,
He knows
yeah.
what he's doing.
But as a person, you'll probably never wonder what he's thinking because he'll tell you.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I also shoot a lot of ensembles. So I shoot a lot of scenes that have a lot of people in it.
Right.
So then when I cover it, like I don't maybe necessarily know what I'm going to cut to. I'm not going to have the dialogue maybe on the dialogue on the person.
Right.
I might be on someone
There's
else
some
when
8
you're
people on a
speaking.
set
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So it's very difficult sometimes to give that answer, but I never lie. Like if an actor tells me, "What are you going to cut to after this?" If I don't know, I'm going to be like, "I don't know," and they're okay with that. But you can't lie to actors because they know if you're lying.
Yeah.
So I never lie, but I don't shoot that much, and I'm not a safety type person.
Yeah, but
that- no.
that's a question that actors, DPs often ask you. And I always say, I don't know.
If I know, I know. If I don't know, I don't know.
Which brings me to the final question, and this has been a complete film buff's delight. Thank you, both of you, for this conversation. In terms of influences, Zoya and Reema, usually everyone has that one movie they keep going back to. It's just how it is, right? It doesn't mean the world's best movie.
Yeah.
It's just a movie that you keep going back to.
Yeah.
Is there a film for you or films for you that you've seen way too many times, and it's just been what it is?
Godfather.
Godfather.
Yeah.
Which one?
One.
One.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't care for the second and third.
I mean, I
Yeah,
love
I
We can
mean,
start
for
this
me, it's
discussion
Godfather
in the
love the
thread below.
second
Two.
one.
Yeah.
Love the second one. I mean, 1 and 2. But I think I don't know how many times I've seen it. I mean, mainly most of the gangster genre, to be honest. If it comes on and it's even halfway there, I'll start watching it. I can just keep watching them.
Usually people say that about comedy because the joke, it's just like it's just running,
Yeah.
and that's why people watch like comedy 50 years later as well,
Yeah.
and not so much. But
I might-
Godfather is Godfather,
yeah,
I guess.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a drama. I
So there's
like
more
that,
than Godfather.
you know?
So there's more than Godfather. There is more
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
genre
yeah.
that
Like
you'll watch.
Scarface,
Scarface you've seen like multiple times.
multiple times.
The
Yeah.
Pacino
Multiple times.
Scarface or the one before?
Pacino.
A lot of
Okay.
Wong Kar-wai.
Yeah.
Multiple times. There's for me personally, there's a film called Gamo, Harmony Korine, that I've watched, I think, 300 times.
300 times.
Yeah, in fact, friends have begged me to not put on Gamo again.
I love also like certain of my childhood favorites. I think I would have seen Wizard of Oz. I don't know how many times. Like Singing in the Rain, Wizard of Oz. Those are films that I can, if it's on, I can watch it. They're too good. Too good. And as a kid, I would just keep repeating.
And I'm going to end this conversation with the way people in Riverdale high talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.